the first thing I want to say is this one article was not brought before myself and vetted properly. Second, it wasn't brought before ACPH, which we would have identified several issues that related to public health. The first thing I would just give you an overview. Number one, this is a novel concept and it has been properly vetted. So we don't have the research on this. We do not know what are the social determinants of health and how it would impact Brookline. There is no other similar policy, so we have nothing that would be ingrained to tell us the impact on Brookline. You know, when I go further down, when we see a negative impact in population, you know, we don't know. There is no research on this. Will there be unintended consequences that we can anticipate by this policy? We don't know because the petitioner hasn't done due research on this. Myself and ACPH, we have had brief conversations about, you know, will this have an impact on jurisdictions? Yeah, just have an impact on Brookline, and it would hurt small business, but it would not do anything until it's moving toward our goal. The stakeholders wasn't properly surveyed. So anytime something that does anything with public health, such as when Clip Richmond presents something on environmental, one of the requests is we ask that the petitioners do a survey and present that survey of the evidence to the broader community. That has not been done. So, you know, my recommendation is that, you know, we don't move forward with this because we don't have enough information about this and we don't know enough about the impacts of it. And it's been done too soon and it hasn't been properly vetted.
Thank you. I guess I'd like to second Dr. Jett's comments, which are basically process comments. In other words, you know, before the health department, public health department, would like to see warrant articles or other actions going forward, they'd like them to go through a process where they're presented to the health department and vetted. There was no outreach to the business community and the businesses that would be impacted by this, which is a really serious defect in the process. I mean, the people who are impacted by this need to be part of the discussion, part of the discussion. And I guess I'd add one other thing. You know, we always talk about looking at things through a racial equity lens. Has that been used in this situation in terms of who are the small businesses that would be impacted, and are they primarily businesses of immigrant families, people of color, et cetera? So I think there's a big process issue here that Dr. Jett has raised, and there's many aspects to it.
So I'll just say I'd certainly be interested before taking my own vote, hearing from the Advisory Council on Public Health on this issue personally.
Yeah, Mr. Isaac?
So the statement that I gave was already vetted through the Advisory Council. We have guidelines on our website of everything that we've outlined, and what I gave tonight was their opinion as well. None of these questions have been answered. They must be answered so that we have the appropriate impact. We cannot continue to scratch out warrant articles without properly doing the research and vetting. Even though it might be a novel process, but we don't understand the total impact of it, nor on our department either, which tends to be a problem.
I'm ready, if we were taking a vote tonight on this, I'm ready to vote no. Not only do I have a question as to whether adults should be prohibited just because it's got bad health effects, but I have that other question, which is even stronger in my mind. This is not the time to be doing anything with this measure or any other measure within reason that is deleterious to local commercial retail establishments. Frankly, we're lucky to have the ones that are still thriving and still surviving, and the convenience stores are part of that. And I just would not be able to bring myself at this point, without a much stronger case than this, to do this kind of, take this kind of action to the detriment of the survival of the convenience stores?
Laws have to be properly vetted and researched.
I have reservations about how, about the process issues that Dr. Jett talked about. And, you know, I would like to see us do better in the future.
We debated at length on this, and it seemed to the subcommittee that this change would be ineffective because anybody who would not be allowed to buy tobacco here will simply buy it through the internet or go into Boston and buy it there. That would deprive small businesses here in Brookline of needed revenue, while at the same time rewarding Boston businesses who do the same thing along the border. And giving Boston businesses a financial windfall at the expense of Brookline small businesses didn't seem to be fair, and it didn't seem to do anything to really stop anybody from buying tobacco. They would simply buy it on the way to work, on the way home from work. They would ask a friend to do it. They'd do it through the internet or whatever. So it didn't really seem like that was going to stop anybody from smoking at all. The most contentious part of this is that we're taking the rights of some adults, but not others, in choosing what legal products they can buy and use.
Before you bring it to us, we expect you to do due diligence and research. And so we don't know the unintended consequences, and I advise us to take a step back and make sure this is put to a committee to really look at and determine the impact instead of just passing something for the sake of it looks good and it's symbolic.
I can feel for those convenience store owners. I think it was something like 45% loss in gasoline sales since the menthol ban, and like just a lot of loss. I do not feel comfortable adding another loss to people who are trying to make a living here and support their families.
Though I support a public health goal of having fewer people smoke, and though it's been 35 years, I was a Salem light smoker for many years. I have a concern that the cost for that public health goal is being borne by a very small set of small business owners.
This is overkill. We've regulated the hell out of smoking. I think that that's good that we've regulated the hell out of it, but we need to stop someplace. At some point, we got to stop beating these people with a stick.
If you take this to its logical extreme and ban tobacco everywhere, what you end up with is a black market, just like we had with marijuana. And the rationale for legalizing marijuana was that we could regulate it and therefore control it, whereas we had no ability to do that when it was illegal.
I can't support this. I think this needs to be a broader regional approach, or better yet, a national approach.
I just wanted to add that I think this is a very well-intentioned warrant article, but I think that it seems really arbitrary, and it doesn't offer any evidence that this will result in fewer adults either smoking or starting to smoke. And in the process, it will hurt so many small businesses who are an important part of Brookline and do so much more than simply sell cigarettes. But this is perhaps the difference between their being able to earn a profit or not. And so I think we need to be aware of not hurting people without having very clear-cut proof that this is actually going to accomplish what the intention of the petitioner is.
I think if the state did something, it would have some teeth in it, but Brookline by itself is just going to drive businesses that we need out of business.
We as a community take tilting at windmills positions all the time in order to express our values, even when the actual impact that we're going to have on the broader community is trivial. I mean, that's almost Brookline's brand, right?
So I have a reputation as being a rather militant anti-smoker. I have supported all of the other efforts that have come before town meeting, banning inside restaurants to the high school buffer and all that other stuff. I've supported all of that, but I am voting against this for a number of reasons. Let's be honest with this. This is not geared toward kids. It's not. It's geared toward adults who want to buy a legal product and have every right to do so. We do not have any right. The petitioners, the advisory committee, town meeting has no right to tell an adult that they cannot do something that other adults living next door can continue to do. We cannot have a double standard where this group of people can do something, but this group of people cannot do the same thing legally. That's just wrong. We're talking about adults, and we cannot have a set of standards that is contradictory. It's only fair when everybody has to do the same thing. This warrant article is just going to be completely ineffective. This isn't going to reduce smoking at all. This is going to be an ineffective thing to do.